mostly sunny day today. High near 60. Mostly clear tonight to low 37. Tomorrow sunny. High of 63. Slight chance of rain Thursday with a high near 66. And Friday a high of 78. It's Crosstalk. Talk from a different perspective every Tuesday afternoon at 3 on WAOB.
It's time for your favorite 3 o'clock local shows, proudly sponsored by Menards. Whether you're tuning in to AM 1450, 97.3 FM, or 97.7 FM, Menards is here to support great local content. And Menards is your one-stop shop for all things home improvement. Don't go anywhere. Today's 3 o'clock show is just getting started.
Welcome to Crosstalk. Crosstalk is hosted by two pastors, Mike Flynn and Luke Richardson. They'll discuss faith-based conversations concerning our city, lives, culture, news, politics. You know, everything you're not supposed to talk about at Thanksgiving. All that, and most importantly, the truth. Their aim is to connect with people in our community through real discussions, real laughs, and the truth. And now, here's Crosstalk.
It's Crosstalk time. This is Pastor Mike. I'm with Pastor Luke. How you doing today?
I'm doing excellent.
Dude, I am hyped. You know why? Because I have my new favorite type of coffee in Vincent's.
Oh.
It's not impressed. It is not grazed.
It's my pour-overs.
Casey's darn good coffee. They're paying me to say this, by the way. Seriously, man. Casey's had like a free coffee month, and I went and got Casey's coffee. I'm like, man, this is good. This is really good. So I just want to put a plug in for them if, you're looking for a good coffee before Starbucks gets here and ruins our city, and Dunkin'. So
I can't believe we're getting both.
I can't believe
That's
it
crazy.
either. Yep, I like it though. This week is Easter week.
Yep.
It's getting there.
Yep.
You got to know, pastors at churches, they're freaking out right now. They're like running around. Where's the cross? Do we have enough eggs? Come on. Last weekend we did this incredible outreach at the Maple Ridge Apartments. We did this huge Easter egg hunt, and they have a big field back there, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
We partnered with this food truck. I think it's Lida's food truck ministry, but it's not a truck like they're inside of it. They use a trailer in the back.
Okay.
And they cook food for all these people, and they do it for free. And our church helped pay for all the supplies and everything. And at 11 o'clock, we just started feeding people. And, man, there were so many kids out there, so many people.
Yeah.
I just love getting to know and getting to meet more people. Mm-hmm. And then we did the eggs. Before we did the eggs, we had a church member, lead them in stretches and really funny stuff. They don't know this, but we were supposed to have the Easter Bunny out there stretching and doing fun things.
Yeah.
But
it didn't work out.
It didn't work out. You know why? Because the Easter Bunny is pagan.
Not real.
It's pagan. Don't say it's not real. Okay?
Whenever I was 2.5 years old, my dad sat me down and told me that Santa Claus, Easter Bunny, Tooth Fairy.
Oh my goodness. What a monster. Why?
Don't know. I've literally never believed in any of that stuff.
Wow. So okay, and I know some parents disagree. We never pushed it like Santa because I never wanted my kids to be like, well, is God real?
Exactly.
So I get that. But parents who do Santa, I'm not judging you, that's fine. But yeah, we just never, and we sat our kids down and we're like, you don't ever tell another kid Santa's not real or you will, they haven't, right? But we tell them about Saint Nicholas and what he did and stuff. Yeah. But and look, you can be a Christian and do things different and not be a jerk about it.
Yeah.
There are some Christians who will not say Easter. Mm-hmm. They'll say it's Resurrection Sunday.
Easter.
Well, no, they'll say Resurrection Sunday, and that's cool. I get it. I actually love. That's a beautiful phrase.
Yeah.
But most of the world says Easter, so, it's okay to do that. But
my wife's parents, growing up, she didn't believe in Santa either, but they would, every Christmas, they would put on one of her presents from Santa. So then when she'd go to school and people would ask her, she wouldn't have to lie. She could say, this one
What did
is
Santa
she
bring
got
you?
from Santa.
You know what Santa brought me? Lies.
Exactly.
All right, so one of the things, we did do the tooth fairy a little bit,
Yeah.
and like our kids were kind of asking, we just avoided the question, but Isaiah, when he was younger, he lost a tooth, and he built a trap. Like, so he's like, I'm going to get the tooth fairy tonight. And we're like, okay. So the tooth fairy would write notes, and, you know, that was kind of fun.
That was
But
fun.
I remember being a kid, and I found out Santa was fake. And then one other thing I found out that was fake that really broke me was Jerry Springer.
What?
Jerry Springer.
What about Jerry Springer?
You know it's fake, right?
No.
Oh my goodness, you think all those people are real?
I never really
Yeah.
watched it. But
No, it's all fake.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah. So once I learned that, my heart was broken.
It's like WWE.
I had no parental supervision growing up, so I watched anything and everything.
Same.
Yeah, which was really bad, really bad. So I'm glad, like, I don't let my kids watch anything. Like,
Yeah.
nope, no thank you. Hey, so we got a lot going on in the world today. The trade war is ramping up. It is insane now. China back and forth.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of stuff going on with politics, but I do want to say the Easter egg hunt at Gregg Park is happening this Saturday, so that's a big one. That's
Yeah.
fun. Come down. I think it starts at 11 something, yeah, 11. They do a pancake breakfast first, but yeah, come down at 11, you'll find out. Also, Coachella's happening. So if you're from Vincennes, you want to go to Coachella, don't forget about that.
I saw it
It's almost
said that 60% of the people that are there financed those tickets.
What do you mean? Oh, yeah, like put them on layaway or something?
Well,
Yeah.
because they're so expensive. Like, that
Yeah.
many people
And
are charging to go there.
Guess who also went to Coachella? Bernie Sanders, to talk about how bad capitalism is at Coachella, where
Coachella.
people are paying $6,000 a ticket. The oligarchy is
my
Bernie.
goodness.
Dude, I love Bernie Sanders. He reminds me of the Doc from Back to the Future. You know, like, great Scott's like his
Yeah.
look, and then his mouth, he talks like he has golf balls in his mouth.
He
Like,
does.
hello.
He's from where, like Vermont or New Hampshire?
Every time, Vermont. Every
Vermont,
time
yeah.
I see people like that, I'm like, term limits, please.
Yeah. He's like, what,
Please. I know.
84 or something? 82?
Well, think about this. Biden was in politics before we landed on the moon. Isn't that crazy, man? Like, get him out of here.
Wow. That really
One other
puts
thing
it in
I did want to
perspective.
invite people to, we do a Good Friday service at our church.
Mm-hmm.
It's at 7 p.m., obviously on Friday. And it's really different. If you've never experienced this before, it's kind of like a Maundy Thursday event. But anyway, I remember going, like, we had a Friday Easter egg hunt at this mega church I worked at, and, like, they were dropping eggs from helicopters, like, this crazy, but they had a DJ. I think I told you this.
Yeah.
And we're walking up to the egg hunt, and the DJ is playing Another One Bites the Dust at about the same time Jesus was probably crucified, right? So
Yeah.
this Good Friday service, it starts off
A little
singing.
more reverent.
Yeah, oh, by the end, you're walking out of there going, wow, because the lights, every song, the lights
Yeah.
go dimmer and dimmer, and pretty soon, like, it's just one candle lit, and all the music gets
Yeah.
tamer and tamer, and then they ask you not to speak as you leave.
It is cool service.
So it's like super quiet, but you're focused on the cross.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay. Gregg Park, Easter egg hunt, 11. If you'd like to volunteer and show up and help, you could show up at 10. But it's like 11 to 12. They do some cool things. They give out prizes.
Yeah. That'd be a
Super
good time.
cool. And then after Easter, what are you doing?
After Easter?
Yeah. The Monday after Easter, you know, we get off for churches.
Yeah.
Most churches take that off
Yeah.
because Easter's so crazy. Honestly, it's not really that bad, though. Like, for our church,
Yeah.
we are going to have a lot more people.
Right.
Like, it's so weird that you'll average 400 people, and then Easter, it's like 800 people show up. You're like,
Yeah.
where have you been?
Yeah.
Where did you go? But no, I'm excited for it. You know, there's just more families come. I think everyone shows up at once.
Yeah.
That's what happens. But we're excited about Easter, and definitely excited about what we do around the city and all the Easter stuff. And it's getting nice out.
I know.
So that always, Easter reminds me of life in the springtime
Yeah.
too. More life. Yeah. So we we got a few things to talk about today in politics. The president of Ecuador came to the Oval Office.
Okay.
That dude's a superhero.
Really?
Yeah. Have you heard anything about him?
I haven't.
Okay, I'm going to explain everything to you. He is a superhero. And one other thing, there is one other event tonight going on at Bunker Hill General Baptist Church. Revival's happening all week. And I am going to speak at the revival tonight. Tonight. So I am ready.
What time are you going to speak?
7 p.m. That's when it starts.
That's when the thing starts?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So, if you've haven't been to a revival lately, Bunker Hill General Baptist Church. I actually drove by it today and prayed over it, and just
it's going all week.
All week long.
All week.
7 p.m. every night. Get there. Be square. All right, we got to go. Got to take a quick break.
All right.
You're up next.
I'm up.
Leading up to Easter, you have one and final.
Yeah.
What Jesus did on the cross for us.
Yeah.
And stay with us. We'll be back. This is Crosstalk 97.3 WAOV.
Have you ever missed one of your local shows on WAOV? Ever missed the morning chat, Mark and Mark? Or even financial questions, real answers? Well, that's not a problem anymore. WAOV now has our local shows on podcast and easy to get them. Go to WAOVAM.com, click on the podcast tab at the top to find your show. It's that easy. So if you miss Crosstalk, legal news or views, or just the tips, listen to the podcast the next day. Go to WAOVAM.com and find your podcasts.
Shop before you shop to maximize your savings and make every dollar go further. Check out the TOC Big Deal store. You'll find gift cards and gift certificates to area businesses at discounted prices from 20 to 50% off. Save money when you go out to eat, go golfing, buy shoes, shop for jewelry, and more. From goods and services to events and entertainment. Search by city, search by category, or check out our clearance category for even more savings. Open 24/7. Go to TOCBigDeals.com. That's TOCBigDeals.com.
All right, Crosstalk, we're back. Pastor Luke's been doing this incredible thing in the weeks leading up to Easter.
Yeah.
Everything Jesus accomplished on the cross.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're listening to this, you're like, well, he died for us, right? Which is true.
Yeah.
But there's so many things that came through that were intentional, were on purpose, to bring us life, to set us free, like all these things. Luke's been going over them, and they're awesome leading up to Easter. Is this the last one?
This is the last one.
You better make it good.
Yeah.
Honestly.
And if anyone listening out there has any suggestions for our next series, we're in the process of working on it.
I think we should do controversial doctrines.
Controversial doctrines?
Yes.
Okay.
Like there's a lot of things. Yeah. Or is the Bible true? How do we know the Bible's true?
That's a good one.
Most people think it's, like
Right.
King James wrote the Bible one day, or it's been distorted all throughout time, because
Right.
I hear this
Like
all the time.
telephone.
Oh, like telephone,
Yeah.
and they have no clue,
It's
no.
exactly the same.
It's the exact opposite of
Yeah.
telephone.
right.
It's
It's the exact same
thousands of places,
the
thousands
originals
of
that we
people,
have
and the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Right.
What happened there?
Yeah, that
like
proved it.
shut a lot of people up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah.
let's get
All right.
into it.
So I thought today we could kind of do a little bit of recap of all the things we've talked about, kind of hit some highlights. And I want to look at Isaiah 53 a little bit.
Oh,
We've made a couple references
that's
to
my
it.
verse.
But Isaiah 53, if you're not familiar with this chapter, it's nicknamed the Suffering Servant passage.
It's legit.
And this passage is incredible. I mean,
Yeah.
if you want to find a passage about Jesus in the Old
Yep.
Testament, it's like this, or maybe the prophecies of Psalm 22.
Yeah.
But like Isaiah 53 is where you go.
I heard Isaiah 53 preached, and then I gave my life to Christ.
Yeah.
So,
Isaiah 53 is where I go every time I take communion.
ooh.
I always read through those verses, at least verses 3, 4, and 5 in that range, because it's just so powerful. I'll just read them real quick.
Yeah, do it. Everyone's like on the edge of their seat.
Yeah, what is it?
Come on, man.
Okay, Isaiah 53, it says, starting with verse 3, it's talking about Jesus. It says, he was despised and forsaken of men.
Hold on, can I say one
Oh,
thing?
yeah, go.
So it doesn't say this is Jesus.
Right,
It's
Right.
prophetic
right.
over 500 years before Jesus was born.
Yep.
But who do you think this sounds like?
I know, you can't
You can't read it and not go, oh.
Yeah.
That's why I don't get why Jews...
I know. There's
How do they
actually
read this?
there's actually people that walk around Israel with this chapter and just read it to the Jews because
Yeah.
it's insane.
Yeah.
So it says, he was despised and forsaken of men, a man of sorrows, acquainted with grief, and like one from whom men hide their face. He was despised, and we did not esteem him. And then here's these 2 verses here, or 3 verses. It says, surely our griefs he himself bore, and our sorrows he carried. Yet we ourselves esteemed him stricken, smitten of God, and afflicted. But he was
Wow.
pierced through for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. The chastening for our peace fell upon him, and by his wounds we are healed, or by his stripes we are healed. All of us like sheep have gone astray. Each one of us has turned to his own way, but Yahweh has caused the iniquity of us all to fall on him.
Wow.
Just some
That word
really
pierced.
powerful verses.
Was that pre-crucifixion?
Yeah.
Like that, they didn't even invent crucifixion,
Nope.
but they said he was pierced.
Same in Psalm 22 when it
Yep.
says that through his hands and feet.
Hands and feet,
Yeah.
literally hands and feet
Yeah.
were going to be pierced, and crucifixion wasn't invented.
Yeah.
Crazy.
You can't even deny it that this is about Jesus.
Yeah.
I mean, it just, and the whole chapter really. I mean,
Yeah.
we could go on, but just those are the verses I specifically read
Yeah.
every time I take communion.
Do you know what got me why I gave my life to Jesus when I heard this?
Why?
For the first time in my life, I stopped focusing on my pain, my unfairness, what happened to me,
Yeah.
woe is me,
Yeah.
and I looked at what happened to Jesus. And I have never felt that before, like Jesus was a real person, he went through all this. So instead of me going, my life is so unfair, I was like, wow, how can I compare?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I actually like to back up a little bit. I wish, the whole chapter and verse breakdown came way later.
Yeah.
I think they should have started this a few verses earlier. Isaiah 53, if you go to the last 3 verses of the previous chapter,
Yeah.
it also says some incredible stuff. It says, behold, my servant will prosper. He will be high and lifted up and greatly exalted, just as many were appalled at you, my people. And listen to this. This is about Jesus' when he was whipped and beaten. It says, so his appearance was marred more than any man,
Yeah.
and his form more than the sons of men.
You couldn't even tell he was a person.
He was beaten beyond human recognition, beyond any man that's been beaten before.
Yeah.
He was just tortured and whipped, and it's kind of disgusting, but his flesh was hanging off his body, and
You could see his
And-
rib cage.
yeah.
Well, that's how they did it
I
with
know.
the cat of 9 tails.
yeah, and then the crown of thorns put on his head, and
By the way, I want to put a plug in for the King of Kings movie because they
okay.
did an
I
incredible
haven't seen
job.
it yet.
But I don't want to interrupt you. Keep
Yeah.
going.
Yeah. But yeah, those verses also are really connected to the what.
Yeah, I
Jesus
always
did.
wondered why. It's
Yeah.
like, oh well.
But it's okay. I mean, it's just something that I think about too, especially with this, because Jesus opens up the scroll and he points and he says this is fulfilled in your presence today.
Hey, that's me.
Isaiah 60.
Yep.
And it's like there were no chapters and verses. He just unrolled the scroll and it's like boom, right here.
Yeah.
It kind of
You know
it's
what
kind of
verse
amazing.
really sticks out that I think we gloss over? Smitten by God.
Yeah.
That's like smitten means to be struck.
Yeah.
God himself
Right.
struck Jesus, his own son.
Right. The cup of wrath was poured out onto Christ.
Wow.
And he, this is kind of what I wanted to go into was something that I'm the youth pastor at the church, you know that, and probably
Are you?
some of those who
Are you
listening.
really though?
Anyways, I wanted to talk about the cross with them Sunday night, and it was such a rich time we had. All the leaders and the kids were all sitting around, and we were just talking about Jesus' sacrifice, and
Yeah.
and something that always hits me, especially around this time of the year, is 2 Corinthians 5:21. It's one of my favorite verses because it just kind of sums up all that Jesus did in one verse. But it says, he became sin who knew no sin so that we might become the righteousness of God. And I mean, if you could sum the gospel up in a verse, something like what Jesus did, in its essence.
Became the curse,
Exactly.
became sin.
Yeah. And Galatians 3:13 says that he became the curse.
Wow.
He became a curse for us. And I think about it this way, and you correct me if I'm wrong. If I don't know if you've ever thought of it this way or not, but obviously
No.
Jesus never sinned, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes I think about the worst thing I've ever done, like the shame and the guilt I felt.
Yeah.
And we can't bear up under shame, guilt, and condemnation. It's just too much sometimes.
It is.
Jesus, though, became every person's sin, past, present, and future, in a moment.
Yeah.
He became sin.
Yep.
He bore it. He took it on.
Isn't that insane?
Can you imagine what
Yeah.
that felt like?
Yeah.
Imagine the worst shame you've ever felt.
It wasn't even the nakedness. It was, yeah.
I
Wow.
can't even fathom even all of my sin would
Yeah.
if it were to be put on me at one time.
There are things I've done, and it, like, thinking about them makes me cringe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now imagine, Jesus does all that.
Yeah.
And you're still walking around with shame.
Mm-hmm. I
And
know.
you're a Christian.
Yeah. He paid to take that. Therefore,
Like, hey,
there's now no
that's
condemnation.
mine. That's mine. I took
Exactly.
that. Why are
Yeah.
you carrying that? Like,
Mm.
whoo.
That's something I think about, though, and it makes me think, too, is the life that I'm living right now worth the life that he died? Worth the price that he paid, for my
Yeah.
salvation, and that's
Yeah.
super convicting to me.
Yeah, and you never want to live in that condemnation.
Right.
And
Yeah,
but
you can't.
But you can't live in, oh, I don't care, it's fine.
Right.
He did it. I'm
Yeah.
done.
I think we too often, especially in today, and maybe even in American Christianity, we see sin as this little oops, and we should see it as this deadly poison. I mean,
Yeah.
it put Jesus on the cross.
Yeah. See, I think I talked to you about this before. I was taught that theologically, now the guy who taught me theologically, I don't agree with a lot of what he taught, and I didn't know anything, so I
Right.
just soaked it all in.
Right.
One thing he taught that he was like every time you sin, it's like another nail. It's like they're hitting the nail again.
Yeah.
Like right now, this present time.
Yeah.
Every time you sin, it's like another whip, another, and he's like, that should motivate you to stop.
Yeah.
And it really was a motivation for me. I don't know if that's theologically correct. I mean, I guess, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I know it's confusing. Like, how could Jesus die for
I
something
know, he's outside of
before?
time.
Yeah, he is outside of time.
Yeah.
Like time, God created time.
Right.
Time, space, matter. In the beginning,
Right.
God created that. That's when God
Yeah.
created time. When He
Yeah.
said, "In the beginning."
Right.
So before that, there was no time.
Yeah.
I had this deep conversation with one of my good friends about that. He's not a Christian. He doesn't really believe there's a God. He's like, well, how, when, before? And I'm like, dude, can you imagine not having time?
Yeah.
He's like, you're just going to be in heaven doing what? Watching the paint dry? And I'm like, there's no time.
Yeah.
And, can I understand that? No.
Yeah.
But that's what Scripture says.
Right.
He's like, what is it, like another dimension? I'm like, yeah.
Probably.
Probably. I believe there's another dimension around us, a spiritual dimension,
Right.
invisible.
Yeah.
Angels, demons, warfare.
Yeah.
But
Mm-hmm.
but that's smitten by God.
Yeah.
How much worse was that for Jesus to God, feel the abandonment,
Right. 'Cause-
feel the
Exactly.
strike against him.
Yeah, because I always think about, too, Paul had the 39 lashes 5 times. 5 times.
Dude did not give up.
Which, according to Scripture, Jesus is
Was
one.
that the cat o' nine tails lashing?
Yeah.
He wouldn't have been able to survive that. That had to have been something else.
No, that's what it was. And he was beaten with rods 3 times.
Yeah.
And
that's not a big
stoned.
deal.
And
Everyone gets stoned.
but you think about the physical brutality that Paul experienced.
What it took.
But
Yeah.
think about the cup of wrath. Like God's wrath
Yeah.
poured out onto Christ.
Yeah, that's worse than
infinitely
all of it.
worse.
All of it.
Infinitely than
Yeah.
any physical punishment you could go through.
Isn't it funny how we as Christians, when something doesn't go our way, we're like, God, you don't love me.
Yeah.
Why? And Paul's getting
Yeah.
beat up and
Right.
thrown in prison. He's like, hey, you can do all things through Christ, writing the most encouraged letters. And our car breaks down and we're like,
Yeah.
why, God? Why have you wrought this wrath upon my life?
Yeah. Yeah.
Shut up, dude.
Yeah. We were just talking Romans.
Christians need to get tougher.
We were just talking Romans 8 in the college group last week, and the last few verses.
So you
there,
do youth group and college group?
I do.
Man.
It says, "Who will separate us from the love of Christ?" and he names all these things. We don't have time to name all these
Famine,
things.
yeah.
But the thing about it is, what Paul's getting at is the cross was the measuring stick for God's love.
Yep.
No matter what happens.
Yeah.
God, where are you? God, do you love me? All that stuff.
Yep.
God settled the score once and
Yeah.
for all by dying on the cross.
Either you believe in that or you don't.
And that's the measuring
Yeah.
stick. God, do you love me? He died for me.
We think there's some way that we could mess the cross up.
Yeah.
Right? We
Yeah.
think there's some way we can take that power away. Like,
Yeah.
you don't understand, though, what I did.
Right.
Intentionally.
Yeah. So no anything can take away, can separate you from God's love
Yeah.
because it was settled on the cross.
Yep. Paul wasn't perfect.
No.
I think Paul wrestled with sin.
Yeah.
I think he wrestled with sexual sin, to be honest.
You think so?
I think so because of the thorn in the flesh. I've heard a theory of that
Yeah.
Greek writing, thorn in the flesh is penetrative, apparently, but whatever that was, I think it was sin.
Yeah.
And he's like, God, take this sin from me.
Yeah.
He's like, well, in my weakness, I'm strong.
Right.
But yeah, if we walk around condemned,
Yeah.
or walk around like God, that's an excuse people use. God can't use me. I still struggle.
Yeah.
Was the cross enough?
Right. No matter the amount of suffering or hardship, the cross was.
And if we could look into each other's hearts and minds, we'd see that we're all pretty evil and have bad intentions, bad thoughts.
Yeah.
That's not a free pass to go do what you want.
Right.
But it's God's working on us.
Mhm.
I'm not what I used to be.
Yeah.
I'm not where I want to be. But,
Right.
it's that balance.
Yeah. But
And
Christ paid for all that.
It's done. Yeah.
He took on the wrath of God.
That's why I
took on all of our sin.
That's why I can't understand how you could ever lose that.
Yeah.
Like salvation. How can you?
Yeah.
When what Jesus did on the cross,
Yeah.
how can that be undone?
Yeah.
Even, I just don't get that. I understand why people believe that.
Yeah.
I understand some scriptures that make you go,
Yeah.
But that was always the biggest thing for me was, if he did that, how could I undo it?
Mm-hmm.
So, crazy, man.
Yeah. One last thought real quick before we go to break.
Hurry.
He was a man of sorrow, acquainted with grief. And then it says that men would hide their faces from him. And I looked this up in the Hebrew. It's the equivalent of when people would cover their eyes when they pass by a leprous man.
Oh, to not look and not
Yeah.
be disgusted,
Not-
like when you turn away from a
Yeah.
homeless or...
And that's what Jesus
Yeah.
did for us.
Yeah, that's insane.
Incredible.
Yep.
So,
Just sit on that for a
I
second.
know.
You know who else hit her face? The Michigan governor in the White House Oval Office. You seen that? Sorry. That was so random. Thank you. Thanks, Luke.
Yeah.
Pastor Luke. It's been incredible going through all the things Jesus has
Yeah.
done for us on the cross. And get to a church this Easter. Okay?
Yeah.
And how about this? Go the next week, too. Try it out.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Crosstalk. We'll be back with some politics, 97.3 WAOV. Stay with us.
From the WAOV News Center, I'm Tom Lee reporting. Old Chicago Pizza and Tap Room in Vincennes is now permanently closed. That according to a sign on the front door of the Main Street establishment. In September of 2017, Butch David and Eric Niehaus announced they would be opening Old Chicago Pizza and Tap Room there at 529 Main. They spent over $2.5 million in investments to renovate and convert the building to that new purpose. The Vincennes Board of Works has approved a new system to show train movements across the city in real time. The city has approved the cameras at 2nd Street, 15th Street, Hart Street, Main Street, Washington Avenue, and St. Clair. Overall, 9 separate cameras will cover those crossings, and that is to help people determine when there is a train blocking some or all of the crossings in town. And the Indiana Hospital Association, in partnership with State Health Commissioner Lindsay Weaver, recently recognized Davies Community Hospital for a commitment to infant and maternal health as part of the 5th annual Inspire Hospital Distinction Recognition Program. We've got more at WAOVAM.com. I'm Tom Lee, WAOV News. Not one, but 2 new head soccer coaches for Vincennes Lincoln. I'm Tom Lee with the WAOV Radio Sports Beat. Caleb Merrifield will move in to take over the LHS girls program, while Noble Boger will become the boys head coach. Both will begin their new positions with preseason practice late this summer and the first games starting in mid-August. The Reveille Patriots won their fourth straight in baseball, 10-0 in 5 innings over Evansville Bossy. Patriots only had 3 hits in the game, but took advantage of 8 Bossy errors in the victory. Brody Schatz got to win on the mound. He gave up only 1 hit in 5 innings. He also struck out 11 in a complete game performance. Patriots play again today. They'll take on the Bloomfield Cardinals. First pitch at 5:30. That one live streamed at WAOVAM.com. I'm Tom Lee.
Some things these days just seem harder. Things like making ends meet, planning for the future, or even just finding enough time. Well, you'll be happy to know there's at least one thing that's gotten easier: going to the dentist. It's true. Going to the dentist is now easier than ever with Sedation Dentistry.
This is Dr. Brooks Green. Sedation makes dentistry easy. At our office, we use oral and IV sedation, which is safe and very effective. All you do is sit back and relax. The work is performed while you are completely comfortable, just resting quietly under a warm blanket. Before you know it, the appointment is over. Most people don't remember a thing, and because we can get so much done in a sedation visit, you'll probably need fewer appointments.
Sedation Dentistry is making people's lives easier, and it's changing the way Indiana goes to the dentist. To make it even easier, there's also financing available with approved credit. Call Dr. Green today at 800-443-7131, 800-443-7131, or go online at drgreendental.com.
The WAOV forecast now from the Bryant Stevens Erie Insurance Weather Center. A mostly sunny day today. High near 60. Mostly clear tonight to low 37. Tomorrow sunny. High of 63. Slight chance of rain Thursday with a high near 66. And Friday a high of 78. It's Crosstalk. Talk from a different perspective every Tuesday afternoon at 3 on WAOV.
And we're back with Crosstalk. Hey, I don't know how to go from talking about like the crucifixion and everything Jesus did to politics. It's like,
We'll just wrap the show up now.
yeah, let's just end this. No, politics getting crazy. I will say one of the biggest things that I'm like super not confident about is the trade war going on right now.
Yeah.
And the best way I can explain that, like just watching it, is okay. So President Trump is starting to like concede and partner instead of like lifting or having high tariffs for every country. He made everyone come to the table, and he's starting to do that, except China.
Yeah.
Big problem though.
Yeah.
It's almost, and I think Trump's approach to this was all wrong. It's like, okay, he had everyone in the room,
Yeah.
and he went in and slapped everyone in the face, and including China, and then he's like, okay, I'll walk it back with all of our allies. Now, what that did was, I think, tick them off, but also, while we're doing this tariff with China, China is now going to all those countries that we slapped in the face and making deals with them that are going to be better for them.
Right.
So they're scooping up all the manufacturing countries, and you know, it was just dumb. Had this been thought out, we went to our allies, worked, negotiate things, keep them away from China, then put the tariff out for China with all of our allies in agreement, this would probably have gone better. But Trump's a hammer in search of a nail, and sometimes everything looks like a nail.
Yeah.
So, like, for
It's
instance...
pretty risky, though. Like,
Well,
it could high risk, high reward, though.
yeah. I mean, he has not walked back the tariffs on China, except he did make exceptions, but also they came out and said there are no exceptions.
Yeah.
So, like, Apple made the exceptions for the tariffs with Apple for iPhones.
Right.
Then some auto manufacturers,
Yeah.
but like these really big companies who Apple is going to invest $100 billion into United States, which is great. What about like the small businesses though?
Yeah.
And one of the things that they said was they're going to need some time to like level all this out.
Right.
People don't have time. Not small businesses who rely on the manufacturing. So Xi Jinping I'll give you a for instance. So Vietnam, right? We slapped them with like a 46% tariff rate, which we didn't need to do.
Yeah.
Like I think theirs was like 4% or something. So we went back to Vietnam and worked it out. Fine. Guess who landed in Vietnam 2 days ago?
Who?
Xi Jinping.
Ooh.
So what do you think they're doing? They're going to undercut us and
Right.
get Vietnam on board. So, and by the way, stopping people from manufacturing in China isn't going to bring all the jobs back to America.
Right.
Because there are other countries that they could bring the jobs to.
True.
Yep. And China also is not accepting planes from Boeing right now, which is bad.
Yeah.
And then they're also cutting us off from precious metals that only China can formulate, only China can make.
Yeah.
So that sucks.
Yeah.
There is another country, however, that can and does make precious metals, or not make them, but, you know, get those,
Yeah.
and that's our friends Canada, who we also smacked in the face.
Who also hate us.
So, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Like, I think, and this could all work out.
Right.
This could all work out in the end. Everyone knows, and every president has said, and all these political commentators have said this, and senators left and right, that China is eating our lunch. They're killing us on tariffs. This shouldn't happen. So Trump has been the only one with courage to actually step up and do
Yeah.
this. But is he doing it correctly?
Right. And,
Yeah.
you know, here's the thing I've looked at is when you go back, there, you know, all the naysayers, all the loudest people on the Democratic side against all this stuff, you can go back far enough and find almost all of them
Agreeing.
champions
Yes.
of tariffs and things like that.
Tariffs, closed border, deportations. Like,
So,
they're
again,
all saying
like
it.
you said, I don't think that what he's doing necessarily is wrong, but maybe how he's going about it.
Yeah, we'll see, man. It's crazy. Some other breaking news. The president of Ecuador was in the Oval Office.
Okay.
And it was amazing.
What
First
happened?
off, that guy's a superhero.
Yeah?
He is. So Ecuador was crime-ridden, super dangerous, really known for basically one thing, MS-13, gangs. And, I mean, murderous, terrible gangs.
Yeah.
Within a couple of years, they are now a safer country than the UK.
Wow.
And what did he do? He built this super max prison, and you can watch it on YouTube. Dude, it's insane. The inmates don't get to sleep on pillows or mattresses. They are in white shorts every day. Google it, Ecuador's new prison. This is where we're sending people to.
Wow.
Right? And just started arresting all gang members
Yeah.
and sending them there. And within a couple of years, turned everything around.
Do they like sleep
Insane.
on the floor, like concrete floor?
No, they sleep on the slabs.
Oh, just
and
on
it
the
goes
slab.
4 stories up.
Wow.
All of their heads are shaved. And guess how they know if they're gang members?
Tattoos.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
And so they just scooped them all up
Yeah.
and put them in. And somebody, this was an incredible line, and Trump was like, well, I like that. I really like that. Because it is a likable line. The president of Ecuador said, you know, people say you've imprisoned thousands and thousands of people. And he said this, I didn't imprison thousands of people. I liberated millions.
Oh.
Yeah, see? Trump liked it.
But really, though, that's, yeah.
But seriously,
Yeah.
and he's the guy who brought all the government in a room and said, "Hey guys, just want to let you guys know, we're investigating all corruption, and we're starting with all of you in this room. So if there's corruption, we're gonna find it, and you're done."
Yeah.
And he's conservative.
Yeah.
And my question is, how on earth can the left-wing radicals or just regular Democrats look at someone like that and hate him?
Yeah.
You're imprisoning people.
Yeah.
These are MS-13 gang members.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? So anyway, but I do want to share an interesting point, because there's some controversy because we took an El Salvador citizen who was here and sent them over,
Right.
and everyone's saying it's a mistake.
Yeah, I saw
you
that.
know. So there are some, the courts did say, our courts did say that he most likely could be a gang member, but it wasn't like a certainty, it was like alleged. So anyway, they rounded him up, they shipped him over there, and I don't know if he was an overt gang member. I'm not sure,
yeah.
but they don't know either.
Yeah.
So anyway, they're asking for him back, and bring him back over here. But here's my thing. He's in Ecuador. He's a citizen of Ecuador. Why would we ship him back here?
Yeah.
The president of Ecuador is right there. The president of Ecuador could release him, but that's his country.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So, and I think his wife's here too. Bring his wife back too, right? So as they were massing up all these MS-13 gangs, I was watching a 60 Minutes interview on it, and they were just kind of throwing some shade, and they said, and they did make some mistakes. So obviously they did. Like, I was watching this interview with one guy, and he got rounded up and put in the prison and was there for like 3 months, and then they let him out. And what the president of Ecuador said, there will naturally be some mistakes.
Right.
And we will try to fix it as soon as possible.
Yeah.
But even the guy who went to prison said, I know it was a mistake. It was really hard for me, but I'm glad they're doing what they're doing. And if that's a sacrifice I have to make those 3 months for us to have a stable, crime-free country, then I'm glad.
Wow.
Like, even that guy said that.
Yeah.
So
That's
he is my superhero, and I love that. But they quite possibly could have made a mistake with that.
Yeah. Okay. No, we got 1 minute.
Oh, we got 1 minute? Oh, sorry. Other thing that's happening, man, that went by fast.
Yeah.
Harvard is standing up to Trump with federal
Oh,
funds.
yeah, I saw that.
So
And he freezed like billions of dollars. Right?
yes. So they would get $686 million from the government, and most of that went to scientific research.
Yeah.
Like with the sciences, some of it did go to like English and language and liberal arts. Who cares about that? Like science, cool, liberal arts, whatever. I don't care about your art. No, I'm just kidding. But let me ask you this question. Do you know that Harvard has an endowment fund? So that's like their donors and everything.
Right.
They have $53 billion in endowments. Why do they need federal funds?
Right. Wow.
And the reason why they're taking those federal funds away is because of discrimination. So anti-Semitic things happening on campus that Harvard's not stopping, and discrimination with admissions. So like, we know it's not a secret. It's been proven.
Yeah.
Facts are out there that they discriminated against Asian people. Because if you were Asian, you had to get a higher test score. And if you were Asian, you had a less chance of getting in, let's say, than a black or Hispanic person. How is that not racist?
It is.
How is that not racist?
Yeah.
So they are pulling the fund, and Harvard professors, or the president, is not backing down. He's like, we're not going to do what the government's asking. So great. So just stop taking money.
Fine, yeah.
Number one, you don't need it. Number
Yeah.
two, be your own university. Run it the way you want to run it. That's fine. People who want to go there will still go there. But stop taking my tax dollars
Right.
and using and discriminating.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you're a private college, do whatever. But if you take 686 million from the government, then you shouldn't be allowed to discriminate people.
Right.
Absolutely not.
Right.
So it's going to be a fight, and
sense.
but here's the other thing. I think Congress needs to decide this, not Trump. I think Congress needs to go in and say, hey, why are we funding Harvard?
Yeah.
You know what the sad part about all this? All these schools, they were all founded as seminaries. Harvard was founded as a seminary. Yale, Princeton, all those schools were founded to help people learn scripture, learn theology, to be able to go preach and lead people to the gospel.
Yeah.
Now look at it.
Yeah.
I know a friend who was in Harvard Divinity School, and he was the only one in his class that believed the resurrection actually happened. And because of that, he was labeled conservative in his
Yeah.
view. And he is the most liberal person I know when it comes to theology. Doesn't believe the Bible's true, but because he believed in the resurrection. How sad is that, man?
Yeah.
Like, super sad. But, all right, we got to get back to break. I got some stories to share after
All right.
this. So stay with us, Crosstalk, and stay with us. 97.3 WAOV.
Gonna.
Help DEA keep our communities safe and healthy by participating in National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day, Saturday, April 26th. Take action right in your own home by cleaning out your medicine cabinet of unneeded medications. Keep them safe, clean them out, take them back. Find a collection site near you at DEATakeback.com. Do your part to lower overdose deaths and prevent prescription drug misuse before it starts. That's DEATakeback.com.
Saving energy means saving money. The more you know about energy efficiency, the more opportunities you have to lower your energy usage. No matter your energy needs, NIPSCO's energy efficiency programs provide guidance and incentives to help you learn more and save more. Take the first step towards savings today by visiting nipsco.com/save.
And we're back, Crosstalk. So what we normally do at the end of the segment is talk some truth. So we like to share the Bible stories. By the way, our church is going to be, and if you're a part of our church, listen to this. You're going to get free access. You're gonna get the surprise before the surprise. We're going through the book of John, the Gospel of John.
Yeah.
Take us about a year at least, but what we do at our church is we go through books of the Bible line by line, and we don't leave anything out. And sometimes it's really fun, and then sometimes it's like, oh man, I gotta preach on this. Never preached on this before, but I love it because it gives you a whole picture. Now, we did the Gospel of Mark before, and Mark is the action-packed gospel. You know, it's like immediately, that word's said over and over again. It's the shortest gospel, and it's also, the shortest and the most action. A lot of demonic possession, things like that. So John is the synoptic gospel. Wait, no. Matthew, Mark, Luke are the synoptic gospels. So if you don't know this, Matthew, Mark, and Luke are very similar in their pattern and their nature.
General chronology.
The chronology is very similar. Then you go to the Gospel of John, and it's like, whoa, where did this come from?
Yeah, he writes theologically based.
Yeah. So if you look at it, and people always ask about the Gospels, I was explaining this to my son. So if like you're in a room and a fight went down, like this crazy fight, I'm talking hair pulling, biting, all that, and you took 4 people out of that room, and you're like, hey, can you tell us exactly what happened? Those 4 stories are going to be different.
Right.
They're going to kind of tell you the same thing, like the fight, who won.
Generally.
But they're different perspectives. Some people are going to notice other things.
Certain details. And
that's the Gospels, right? And you think about this too, like I was in a jury trial before. I was, it was attempted murder with a deadly weapon. A and B, they lowered it. Anyway, so I was on trial.
The Scranton Strangler?
The Scranton Strangler? No. Some guy stabbed me. Long story. I'll tell you when you're older. Anyway.
I already know the story.
Yeah. No, you don't. It was a shark. He threw a shark at my arm and it bit me. And so what would have happened if all of my witnesses came in? Because I had a lot of witnesses. Some did great, some didn't. What if they all came in and said the exact same thing word for word about what happened?
Talked.
Yeah, they came together and talked about it. And I love the Gospels because the personality of the Gospels come out.
Right.
Anyway, Matthew, we're going through the Gospel of John, but I love Matthew because Matthew tells parables. And parables are like stories that Jesus uses to kind of help us understand different concepts and theology. Now, I've been asked the question with parables is, was it real? Or was it just a story? Like Jesus is just telling a story. And what I've learned is when Jesus says, now there was a certain man. Like the prodigal son, was that a true story with 2 sons, or is that just Jesus telling us, right? Well, I believe anytime it says, now there was a certain man, that's Jesus saying literally. You know? And most of the parables have that. There's a few that I could say, maybe there wasn't, but I absolutely believe literally. Well, Matthew tells these parables, and the parables just hit you. You're just like, wow, that's it. It's like, people are like, I don't understand the Bible. The way Jesus taught
he wrote it
was
more
so
of like
simple.
a Jewish audience in mind.
Yes, for Jews, for people who know the Torah. Well, one of my favorite parables has to do with forgiveness. So I love, there's several parables about forgiveness. There's a parable of the debtors where Jesus said, if somebody forgives someone of 500 denarii, and a denarii is generally accepted as like a full day's wage.
Right.
So like you work hard all day, you get 1 denarii.
It's like a year and a half salary.
Yeah, So if someone said, if somebody forgave someone of 500 denarii and then they forgave another person of 5 denarii, who would love that person more?
Yeah.
And the answer is the guy who
owed more. Yeah.
Right? And then he tells this story about, it was the woman who was like crying and wiping her face, wiping her tears on Jesus. Yeah, you know that story.
Yeah.
And he said, to whom much is forgiven, much is loved. And that has always hit me.
Yeah.
Because it's like, and you don't have to be like a down in the dirt sinner, drug addict, ready to jump off a bridge to really love and have this connection with Jesus. It just so happens that people whose lives are in shambles, when they get saved, when they find hope, they're like, wow, I love you. Like, you look what you did for me.
Yeah.
But you could be a homeschooled pastor's kid who grew up sheltered, grew up in all this way, and still love Jesus just as much, as long as you recognized one thing.
Yeah.
That you're a sinner.
Humble yourself.
And you've sinned. You may say, I had a great life. I don't have a great testimony. Yes, you do. You're a sinner that has needed a Savior.
And, too, Jesus says, or it's actually in James, but Jesus talks about it too, but if you've sinned in one place, you're guilty of it all. If you've sinned against the law in one area, you're guilty of it all.
Yep.
So
you break one law, it's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, God doesn't look at one sin as more sinful than another. Now, with that being said, there are some sins that hurt, not
different earthly consequences.
Make God feel different.
Yeah.
So you like the 6 abominations or 7 abominations that make God want to throw up, and everyone, I've heard, way back in the day, it's sexual, the homosexuals make God want to puke. And I'm like, dude, gossip's in there.
Yeah.
Gossip makes God want to throw up. It's an abomination.
Right.
And then bestiality was always one, like, that's an...
Yeah.
but really, like, gossip and lying are the same.
Right. The wages of sin is death.
Yes.
So that's all sins. And
now,
there's different earthly consequences. And
what does it say about sexual sin?
Paul says that it's a sin against your own body.
Yes.
So there is a slight difference there, as in ramifications, I would say.
Yes.
But still, worthy of eternal separation.
Yeah, it's in 1 Corinthians 6:18, the phrase sin against your own body as sexually immoral sin.
Yeah.
Right? Why is that, you think?
Well, I think that sin is more of a lifestyle than most other sins.
It says who commit sins, they're outside of the body, but sexual sin is against their own body.
Right.
Isn't that crazy?
It is. There's different effects to it. It's more of a lifestyle, I would say, than most other sins.
Yeah. Well, think about this for men. How important is sexuality to men? Or let me rephrase that. How much of a drive is a part of a man's life, sexual drive? 98%? What do you think? Right? Like, how often does a male think about sex? Pretty often. So, except me, I never do. Because I'm a pastor, and I don't think those bad thoughts. So my thoughts are always moral, right? Only think about my wife, that's it. Okay, move on, thank you. So if you think about, there are 2 strives, your strongest strives in your body for a man. The number 1 strive for a man is survival. Like, building's on fire, you're going to do everything you can to survive. Second, sex. So really that's it.
Yeah.
But God did that on purpose and created us with these strives on purpose and to be healthy, for the marriage bed.
Right. To draw
100%.
each other close to each other.
Yeah. You cannot read Scripture and think that it's okay to and say it is okay to have sex outside the marriage bed. You can't.
Right.
Chalk it up however you want.
Right.
It is so clear, plain as day.
Yeah. There's
And
a
I
whole
think,
chapter in Leviticus about sexual immorality
Old
of
Testament,
every kind.
New Testament,
Yeah.
all of it.
Yeah.
So, and Jesus even took it a step further, and he's like, hey, if you're thinking and lusting about another woman who's not your wife, you're sinning. Not just doing, but thinking with your heart. And that doesn't scare me. That, makes me think the cross is even more beautiful because I know that. But yeah, you want to love Jesus more, think about your sin and what he did for you. Don't think about, the bad people, that's why they have testimonies. That's why they're excited, because God saved them from addiction and God saved them from suicide.
Yeah.
No, God saved you.
Right.
And you sin.
Yeah, we all needed saving.
Feel the weight of your sin, not in condemnation, but for gratitude for the cross and what Christ did for us.
Yeah.
We got to go, guys. This is Crosstalk. We'll see you next week after Easter, 97.3 WAOV.